Hey friends, I'm so glad to see you again. In this video, we're diving into one of the most touching, funny, and thrilling anime love stories ever. Every episode is packed with unexpected twists, new attempts, and a roller coaster of emotions. So, if you're a fan of heartfelt stories, awkward moments, and characters who go above and beyond, sometimes even overboard, for love, this video is definitely for you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Mona is a beautiful girl who has always been surrounded by compliments and attention, but in high school, she meets Kuroiwa, a boy seemingly immune to her charms. Intrigued, she decides to conquer him, making him her new goal. Since she was a baby, Mona stood out for her beauty, and as she grew up, everyone was enchanted by her. In school, boys competed to be close to her, but Kuroiwa was different. Despite his kindness, he gave her only polite responses and avoided interacting more than necessary, which puzzled Mona. One day, seeing him looking at kitten photos on his phone, she tried to approach him by pretending to be cute, like a little kitty. While everyone admired her adorable gesture, Kuroiwa remained unmoved and asked her not to bother him. This hurt Mona's ego, as she couldn't understand how someone could resist her charms. Frustrated, she came up with new plans to grab his attention, such as climbing a ladder to show off her legs when he passed by. However, Kuroiwa remained indifferent, leaving Mona confused and determined to figure out what it would take to win his heart. She falls off a ladder, accidentally showing her underwear, but Kuroiwa is only irritated. Then, she pretends to be sick during class. The teacher asks someone to take her to the nurse's office, and Mona cleverly manipulates Kuroiwa into taking on the role. In the nurse's office, Mona tries to seduce him, admitting that she deliberately chose a time when no one would be there. However, Kuroiwa rejects her, saying it's not about her actions but something else. Feeling upset, Mona loses control. They accidentally fall onto the bed, and she opens her blouse, thinking it will work. But Kuroiwa remains cold, advising her to save such actions for someone she truly loves. The next day, Mona continues her attempts to win his attention, even during gym class. She poses, showing off her figure, but Kuroiwa ignores her. After class, she follows him to the water fountain, where she accidentally gets her shirt wet. Feeling embarrassed, Kuroiwa gives her his shirt to cover up. Mona notices his physique and blushes, but he quickly leaves. Later, her friends explain that Kuroiwa is a descendant of a feline temple and is forbidden from interacting with girls due to religious vows. He has never met girls like her before, and finds it difficult to resist the temptations of the city. Despite this, Kuroiwa fears breaking his principles for a relationship. The next day, Mona returns his washed shirt. Kuroiwa thanks her, but again tries to distance himself, repeating to himself, "Clear mind, pure spirit." Nevertheless, thoughts of Mona begin to creep into his consciousness. In art class, Mona poses in front of Kuroishi, hoping to catch his attention. However, the guy is focused on praying to expel sinful thoughts. When Mona offers to pose even without clothes, Kuroishi remains completely calm, which irritates her immensely. "Come on, it was just a joke," she thinks, but decides that today's drawing project will be her day of victory. Mona prepares thoroughly. She searches online for sexy poses to knock Kuroishi off his feet. She recalls an incident when he couldn't take his eyes off her when she got soaking wet. "Aha, that's it," she thinks, striking the perfect pose. But instead of being impressed, Kuroishi sinks into meditation to avoid thinking about nonsense. He draws, completely ignoring Mona's attempts to seduce him with her gaze. Meanwhile, her classmate Haruno can't take her eyes off Mona. "Hey, are you even drawing?" Mona protests as Haruno continues to stare at her. This makes Mona suspicious. Could she also be in love with Kuroishi? After class, Mona bumps into Kuroishi in the library. She tries to look intellectual, glasses, a book, and tea. "This time I'll definitely make an impression," she thinks, accidentally brushing her leg against his. Kuroishi jumps up as if stung by a wasp and runs away. "What the?" thinks Mona, feeling utterly discouraged. Jealousy intensifies when Mona notices that Haruno is always around. "Is she really my rival?" she wonders, trying to figure out why Haruno spends so much time near Kuroishi. But it turns out to be something entirely different. Haruno is obsessed with Mona. Yes, she even has a desktop wallpaper with Mona's photo and a collection of 300 pictures. "So you're not in love with Kuroishi?" Mona asks in surprise, learning the truth. Haruno shyly admits that she just wanted to be closer to her favorite classmate. Mona agrees to accept Haruno's help in winning Kuroishi over, though it still feels a little strange that someone adores her so much. The next day, Mona tries to confess her feelings to Kuroishi, but the words get stuck in her throat. Instead of saying, "I love you," she blurts out, "You disgust me." Kuroishi, the true gentleman, assures her that he didn't see anything under her skirt and walks away. What the hell did I just do? Mona thinks, feeling like a complete failure. Eventually, Mona and Haruno start working together for the school festival. Haruno suggests the idea of a cafe with costumes, but Mona adamantly refuses. "I'm not wearing a huge costume that hides my best features." Still, they find common ground, and Mona realizes that perhaps Haruno isn't such a bad ally after all. Mona is preparing for the school festival. Her friend Haruno tells her about the legend of the Bridge of Love, a bridge where, if you hold hands with your beloved, you can be together forever. Mona decides to use the festival as an opportunity to catch Kuroiwa's attention. She plans to use costumes from the drama club, including maid outfits, police uniforms, and even her secret weapon, a bunny costume. "No, this is too much even for me," Mona thinks to herself. While trying on the costumes, Kuroiwa catches Mona in one of the outfits. To avoid awkwardness, they hide in a closet. Kuroiwa feels extremely uncomfortable and is clearly praying to every saint he knows, while Mona feels like she's living in a romantic comedy, hoping he can't hear her pounding heart. After Haruno leaves, they emerge from the closet. Mona realizes she's used her weapon of mass destruction on Kuroiwa, but he remains calm and even compliments her. "You look cute, but it's a bit too revealing." However, afterward, he begins avoiding her. At the festival, Mona's group runs a cafe with waitresses dressed in bunny costumes. Mona tries to grab Kuroiwa's attention, but he's busy working in the kitchen. Haruno takes matters into her own hands and forces them to hand out flyers together. Mona's attempts to spend time with Kuroiwa turn into a series of mishaps. She gets scared by zombies in the haunted house, and her skirt gets stuck in the decorations. Kuroiwa helps Mona get out of the awkward situation with her stuck skirt. Blushing from embarrassment, Mona decides to keep trying. She offers Kuroiwa a crepe but accidentally smudges it on his face. "This is the perfect moment," she thinks, offering to wipe his cheek. But he refuses, and then a bird snatches her crepe. "Of course, even the birds are against me," Mona sighs. Later, Mona tries to charm Kuroiwa with a romantic gesture, a kiss on the cheek via an inflated balloon dog, but all her attempts end in failure. "It's like fate is mocking me," she thinks. As the day comes to an end, Mona notices that time is running out, and none of her plans have worked. She gazes at the Bridge of Love, where countless couples are holding hands. Mona realizes that despite all her efforts, nothing has gone the way she planned. Meanwhile, chaos reigns in the cafe. Haruno burns all the food, and Sagi decides to leave and return to her own club. Mona watches as numerous couples gather on the Bridge of Love. When people spot her with Kuroiwa, they assume he's her boyfriend. Mona tries to divert their attention by suggesting they promote the cafe. Her plan works. The couples leave, but she decides to seize the moment and tells Kuroiwa about the legend of the bridge. She takes his hand, but he quickly pulls away, unsettled by the creepy legend. Mona doesn't give up and stages a fall so that he'll help her up. Kuroiwa lifts her by the hands, carefully avoiding unnecessary contact. With about an hour left until the festival ends, Mona tries to come up with a new plan, but they're interrupted by classmates asking for help in the cafe. After the festival, Mona is disheartened by her string of failures. Haruno notices this and asks Kuroiwa to help carry some tables. Mona tries to strike up a conversation, but he ignores her. Suddenly, a box falls toward her, and Kuroiwa rushes to save her. He quickly steps back, saying the festival is already over. The next day at school, new couples appear, much to Haruno's delight. Mona begins to doubt the legend, as Kuroiwa still hasn't confessed anything to her. When she sees him, she hides but decides to try again. She greets him, but he remains distant. After class, the group goes bowling. Mona scores a strike, but Kuroiwa ignores her attempt at a high five. Only after her persistence does he reluctantly agree, triggering a flood of memories in her mind about the bridge. Later, Mona decides to sit next to him and accidentally drinks from his can of cola. She jokes about it being an indirect kiss. Mona feels like she's losing control of the situation. The next day, she notices Kuroiwa isn't wearing his winter uniform. They discuss it briefly, but their conversation is interrupted by Kuroiwa's friends, who scold him for being rude to Mona. Kuroiwa starts to change his behavior. He offers to share his textbook with her, but startled by her enthusiasm, he quickly withdraws. However, realizing his mistake, he returns and apologizes. Mona is overjoyed, and Haruno captures the moment with a photo. Kuroiwa reminds himself that the most important thing is not to fall in love with her. Mona wakes up to a rainy day but decides not to let it dampen her spirits. She spots Kuroiwa taking shelter from the rain and takes it as a sign of fate. Mona offers to share her umbrella with him, despite his attempts to decline. Kuroiwa reluctantly agrees, recalling his friend's advice to be more polite. On their way to school, Mona tries to get closer to him. She suggests they move closer under the umbrella and even takes his hand. Kuroiwa doesn't pull away, but clearly feels uncomfortable. At school, they pass through the gym where Asahi, a talented basketball player, is practicing. Mona accidentally disrupts her training, and Asahi sharply calls her out. Kuroiwa steps in to shield Mona from a stray ball, stirring up a wave of emotions in her. Asahi notices them together and later questions Mona about her relationship with Kuroiwa. Mona denies everything, but Asahi doesn't believe her, especially after learning that they arrived together under the same umbrella. Mona starts to worry that Asahi might become a rival. The next day, Asahi tries to strike up a conversation with Kuroiwa, but she blushes and loses her ability to speak. Mona quickly whisks Kuroiwa away to avoid any unnecessary exchanges. Later, she learns from Haruno that Asahi is the star of the basketball team and begins to see her as a potential threat. During physical education class, the students play basketball. Mona tries hard to impress Kuroiwa, while Kuroiwa, playing poorly, gets hit in the face with the ball. After class, he loses a bet and has to clean the gym. Mona offers to help him, using the opportunity to grow closer. She adjusts his stance by pressing against him, which makes him visibly flustered. At that moment, Asahi appears and creates a scene. She asks Mona point blank if she likes Kuroiwa and challenges her to a competition. During a demonstration of drills, both girls attempt to grab Kuroiwa's attention, leading to an awkward situation. Kuroiwa, embarrassed by the unfolding drama, flees the scene, leaving them both confused. After the incident at school, Kuroiwa misses classes. Mona learns that he fell ill after getting soaked in the rain and decides to visit him. Along the way, she bumps into Asahi, who is also heading to see him. Both girls refuse to back down and end up going to Kuroiwa's place together. When they arrive, Kuroiwa is surprised to learn that they know where he lives. Mona and Asahi begin competing over who can take better care of him. They prepare food, cut fruit, and even dress up as a nurse and doctor to impress him. Kuroiwa, feeling extremely uncomfortable, tries his best to handle their overwhelming attention. While Kuroiwa is asleep, the girls discuss their feelings in the kitchen. Asahi admits that she likes Kuroiwa, and Mona realizes her rival is sincere. Mona struggles to resist the urge to kiss him, but realizes it wouldn't be right. At that moment, Asahi returns, sparking another confrontation between the two. The next day at school, Mona and Asahi continue their rivalry, though more calmly this time. They talk and even sit together, surprising their classmates. Kuroiwa, having returned to school, thanks them both for their care. Mona tries to talk to him, but her nerves fail her, and she keeps avoiding the conversation. Later, Kuroiwa attempts to speak with Mona, but she runs away again and accidentally bumps into him, causing her to faint. When she wakes up in the nurse's office, she learns that Kuroiwa took care of her since she caught his cold. He thanks her for her help, and Mona feels delighted, imagining him carrying her in his arms. In class, Kuroiwa's friends tease him by setting a picture of a girl in a bikini as his phone wallpaper. They claim it will help him become immune to female attention. Kuroiwa feels uncomfortable and decides to delete the photo. Meanwhile, Mona learns from Haruno that she sent Kuroiwa her own photo to catch his attention. Mona asks Haruno to delete it, but the phone dies before they can do anything. Mona runs around the school, trying to find Kuroiwa. She catches him on the rooftop, where he's looking at Haruno's photo. Mona quickly deletes the message but notices the background screen, the photo of the girl in a bikini. Kuroiwa is embarrassed, while Mona gets upset, assuming he prefers other girls. In reality, Kuroiwa's friends set the photo without his consent. To fix the situation, Mona decides to use the idea of Halloween costumes to her advantage. She suggests throwing a class party. Everyone agrees except Kuroiwa, who resists but is eventually convinced. Mona plans to figure out which costume Kuroiwa likes so she can use it to her benefit. Asahi, who continues to keep an eye on their plans, joins them when they go shopping for costumes. At the store, Mona tries on several outfits, but her main goal is to figure out which costume Kuroiwa prefers. She watches him pick out a costume and decides to choose the one he liked. When everyone tries on their costumes, Mona appears dressed as a mummy. However, she realizes she didn't choose the costume Kuroiwa liked. One of Kuroiwa's friends comments on it, and Mona, feeling embarrassed, decides to change her outfit. She assures everyone that she'll reveal the right choice only at the party. On Halloween, Mona prepares for the party by purchasing a costume she believes Kuroiwa will like. She meets up with Haruno and Asahi to head to the celebration together. Everyone dresses up, Mona as a witch, Asahi in a gothic outfit, and Haruno as a ghost. Mona forgets her hat and goes back to retrieve it. At that moment, she bumps into Kuroiwa, who coincidentally ended up wearing the same costume as Haruno. Mistaking him for Haruno, Mona pulls him into a room and asks him to zip up her costume. Kuroiwa panics at first, but then realizes he's been mistaken for Haruno. He helps her, but when Mona discovers who he really is, the situation becomes extremely awkward. Both are embarrassed, especially Kuroiwa, who now fears things might spiral out of control. At the party, a game called Mummy Wrap is announced, where participants must wrap each other in toilet paper. The winners will receive a year's supply of candy. Mona sees this as her chance. When it's time to form pairs, Asahi and Mona start competing for the right to team up with Kuroiwa. Using clever tactics, Mona wins, and they become partners. During the game, Kuroiwa, flustered by the situation, does a poor job wrapping Mona. She takes matters into her own hands and shows him how to do it properly, but ends up wrapping herself too tightly, which triggers some awkward thoughts from him. In the end, they lose, and Haruno and her partner emerge victorious. After the game, the girls ask Kuroiwa to take photos with them, sparking jealousy in Mona. She also demands a photo, but Kuroiwa refuses, tired of constant picture-taking. This upsets Mona, who feels humiliated. During the group photo, they accidentally end up standing next to each other, but it's not enough for Mona. Later at school, Kuroiwa tells his friends that Mona is mad at him for refusing to take a photo. His friends point out that he acted foolishly, especially since she went out of her way to buy a costume she thought he'd like. Kuroiwa realizes his mistake, but still feels too embarrassed to apologize. In class, they're assigned to clean the storage room together. Mona tries to mend their relationship, but she accidentally spills water on Kuroiwa. She apologizes, and they both admit they were wrong. Mona comes to understand that her anger wasn't just about the photo, it was also because she saw him spending time with other girls. That evening, Kuroiwa scrolls through the party photos and notices how happy Mona looked before their argument. He's filled with regret, wondering what he could have done better. Meanwhile, a new girl arrives in town, adding intrigue to the tangled web of romantic entanglements. Subscribe to keep up with next week's road. But for now, watch this next video. I'll see you all in the next one.